What's up, guys? I wanted to make a quick video today just to share with you the three most important rules of coding or web development or really any kind of coding out there. And that would be reuse, reuse, and reuse. 1, 2, and 3. Reuse as much code as you can and try to get away from making everything from scratch or retyping the same code or the same classes or IDs or whatever it is. Try to get away from doing it from scratch every single time. Now, this can be really hard, especially when you're new, because you're trying to prove to yourself and to other people that you're so smart that you can do everything from scratch. But what you're going to find out real quick, especially when you get into like a real job or if you're freelancing, is time is money, dude. Like, you can't waste time building everything from scratch. Now, when you're first learning web development, yes, you can build things from scratch once or twice just so that you understand how everything works. That's totally fine. But after that, you got to get out of that habit and really try to find solutions and reuse other people's code if necessary to get stuff done. So I'm just going to show you some examples of what I mean when we're saying reuse, reuse, reuse. The first would be when you're building something. So I have some code here. And let's say that we're going to do some HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript. The way that you'd be reusing stuff here is make sure that whenever you're selecting stuff is you're copying and pasting stuff. So this container, we have the container class on this div. You always want to copy and paste your classes and IDs when you're styling them or adding them in the JavaScript. You want to reuse that name and just copy and paste it, because as you've known, or as you will find out, one little typo in your code will throw your whole project off, and it can cause everything to break, and then you have to go back and find out why, just to find out that it's a typo when you've wasted like 30 minutes or an hour of your life not understanding why something isn't working. So get into the habit now, especially you new people. If you're building stuff from scratch, always copy and paste your classes and IDs when you're doing CSS and JavaScript. So I'm going to copy container, use the dot selector, and paste it so that even if I spelled it wrong, it's the same spelling, it's the same thing up here and down there, and then I can add my styles to it, you know what I mean? Without worrying about anything being wrong. So margin 10 pixels, okay? So, and then same thing, especially with JavaScript. If I was going to select this ID, container item 1, I was going to put it in a variable. We could say let container item 1 equals, and then we'll select it. We'll say document dot get element by ID. And I'm going to copy my ID. I'm going to reuse what I've already written to make sure that everything is correct everywhere. And I'm going to paste it in. I'm not going to write everything out from scratch and hope that I get it right, okay? That's the easiest and most simple thing you can do as a newbie. Copy and paste stuff as much as possible, whether it's code components or classes and IDs for JavaScript and CSS. The next thing that I want you to copy and reuse as much as possible is your own code snippets from either old courses that you've taken or other projects that you've worked on, okay? And that's going to be done in your GitHub, right? If you have no idea what GitHub is or what I'm talking about, I'll paste a video in my description here on Git and GitHub and how to get set up and use that, but essentially it's just saving your code on a cloud. It's really useful. To this day, guys, I've been doing web development for years now, and when I want to do certain things, I literally still go back. This is my personal GitHub account. I go back into it, and I copy and paste certain snippets of code all the time. Like, there's just so much stuff out there. I don't have time to do everything from scratch. If there's a project or something that I'm doing that I always know I'm going to be using, or that I know I'm going to use, I always remember in my head, like, oh, I did this on this project. I'm just going to go grab that code. So, like, for example, I'll show you guys. I made this project called Jedi Academy, like, I don't know, how many years ago? 5 years ago. And this is, I think, when I was first learning. This was my first, like, course projects that I did. And I know that somewhere in the CSS, I think it's the main style.css, I have a snippet of code that I still use today for showcase images. Like, when you have those big background images and you have text and a button. This right here is a badass little snippet of code that makes the background image cover the whole page, make it look good automatically, and then it adds a little gradient so that the background image is dark and my text shows up. And then whenever I need it, and I still use this all the time from 5 years ago, if I'm making a showcase image from scratch on a page, I always use this snippet of code. And there's a bunch of other snippets that I use like that in my personal GitHub. Okay, so of course, you always, when you come to a problem or something that you want to do, don't be afraid to whip out Google and just search for it. So something that I do not super often, but whenever I have to do it, I just search it. How to do a toggle switch, how to create a toggle switch. So these are toggle switches. These are usually used in websites for like dark mode on, dark mode off, stuff like that. And toggle switches, if you didn't know, they're basically input checkboxes with a bunch of animations and custom CSS added in to make it do that. And here's the HTML, but look at the CSS, guys. Like, you think I'm going to remember this stuff? Like, absolutely not. It's so much stuff. There's a bunch of transitions in here. So what I do whenever I need a toggle bar or a toggle button, I go to W3 Schools to this example, and I pretty much copy the whole damn thing down. And then, of course, I know enough about coding to customize it, and what I can read the code and understand what it's doing, but I'm not doing this from scratch. No way. Okay, so that's another thing. Search for stuff that you need. Don't sit there for hours thinking about how to make a freaking toggle switch from scratch and how you can do it. You could probably do it, but it's not worth your time. Another thing, animations. I use this a lot. Animate.css. This is on animate.style website. And what this is it's like an animations framework, kind of. Like, you can just add this code to the head of your website and then go through their documentation and just add a bunch of cool animations to anything that you want, just using their little custom classes. Because if you didn't know, animations, especially making them from scratch, can be a real pain in the butt. So it's always best to use these little utility classes that they've already made for you, and animations that either this website or another one is made for you to do animations on a website. Reuse their code. Another way that you're going to be reusing code is learning a front-end framework. Learn a framework, master it, pick one and just master it, and it'll make your development go way faster, dude. So Bootstrap is probably the most popular, or at least it used to be. It's what I use. All frameworks are, guys, if we go into the docs, they're just a bunch of pre-made classes that somebody's already set up. You connect to it in your website using a CDN, which is just like a link, or you can install it with NPM or anything like that. And once you get good with the classes and understand what everything does, you start to learn it really by heart. And you can quickly make pages, and like what would have taken you a day to make, you can get done in 1 or 2 hours, like an entire project. Bootstrap has JavaScript stuff in there that you can copy over, like sliders, mobile menus, all kinds of stuff. Everything that you'll need in most projects you can make with Bootstrap, and it's already been done, okay? Like, for example, if you wanted to make a form with Bootstrap, here's all that you can literally just copy paste this code once you put Bootstrap in your website, and it'll make a decently styled form for you. And then, of course, with your skills of already knowing how to code, you can go in there and customize stuff as you need to. Okay. And then there's other frameworks out there. There's Materialize CSS. There's Tailwind CSS. It does the same thing as Bootstrap. Just pick one. I would recommend just picking Bootstrap if you're going to learn one. It's one that I'm going to be teaching in my course. It's been around for the longest time. It's the most tried and tested. And if you get into stuff like WordPress development or anything else, Bootstrap is everywhere. So it's good to know Bootstrap. Last but not least, learn to leverage AI tools. So we got ChatGPT here. Go to ChatGPT, sign up for a free account or whatever. There's a ton of AI stuff now. Just pick one. Like everything else, guys, just focus on learning one tool, know how to use it. They all do the same stuff. You don't got to learn every tool. But for example, I'll just click on it here. Whenever I need to do an email regex, if you guys know what regexes are, these big pain in the butt things that they're used to test emails on the front end to see if somebody actually entered in a valid email address. Regexes are one of those things they're difficult to learn and understand, so it's best to just leave it to stuff like AI. Thank God AI is around, because difficult stuff, this is just one example. Difficult stuff like this is now I can just ask AI to do it for me and it'll spit it out perfectly. So that saves a lot of time too. AI is probably one of the you're gonna want to actually know what you're doing and probably be a little more seasoned developer before you can really leverage AI, because you have to know what you're trying to do in order to get AI to do what you want. Like for example, if you just type in as like somebody doesn't know how to code, create me an email sign up landing page, it's gonna not really give you much. Like it'll give you a little. If we can probably just copy this here. Is this yeah? So, and I went over this. I have an AI video where I went over this where everybody's freaking out about AI, but just as an example, let's just see what that is. Like I said, create an email sign up landing page. I'm just going to paste that code that ChatGPT gave me for my email sign up landing page, and let's see what it gave me. If it, people are expecting it to give you something spectacular and complicated. That's it. Is that a landing page? I mean, I guess it's really just a pop-up box, but that's what it gave me. This is from ChatGPT's code. So you have to know like exactly what you want or what you're doing to really get ChatGPT to do what you would expect it to and do a lot of work for you. But AI tools are another one of those things where you can now ask it questions for basic problems, and it'll, as long as if you're not expecting like something super complicated to be spit out by it, like just, hey, give me an email regex for form validation on the front end, it'll do that really well. If it's stuff that's complicated, you got to know what you're doing as a developer. Okay. All right, guys. So that's it, man. Just remember that reuse. Stop being obsessed with building stuff from scratch. Get rid of that imposter syndrome. Okay. No real developer out there who makes money builds everything from scratch. I'll tell you that right now. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next video.